MeMonster.
Chapter 81. That evening, anything logged in. Party 1, gather in the first floor plaza. Isel's voice echoed. I closed the documents and stood up. I had gathered all the information I needed. Now only the real action remained. I picked up the sword and shield from the wall and left the room. Jenna and Eloka were walking toward me from the other end of the corridor. I joined them. Party 2, also gather. Oh, and Party 3 too. From now on, all those called will gather on the first floor. Han, Jenna, Eloka, Velkist. The list of participants was being called. We went down to the first floor plaza. More than 10 heroes were already gathered in front of the rift. Velkist and Narissa, who spotted me, approached me. I smiled lightly and asked, "Are you ready?" "Anytime." Of course. Their answers were resolute. Nothing seemed different from usual. Jenna and Eloka were the same. They had experienced boss stages several times, so they were a bit nervous, but not enough to affect the actual battle. As for the other parties, up to Party 2 was within the allowed range. However, Party 3 looked at Isel with unease. "Don't be nervous. If you keep your wits about you, you'll survive. If you're lucky, you might not even have to participate." Edis patted a girl's shoulder. She was a member of Party 3, a scout. The girl nodded slightly. A total of 15 people gathered on the first floor. I drew a dagger from the sheath on my belt. The blade was coated with a bluish liquid, the poison Narissa had made. This time we might be going up against a boss battle. A boss battle? Yeah, it's a bit different from the missions we've done. We can clear it by defeating just one enemy. The problem would be that one enemy, though. I swallowed my words. Anyway, we don't know what kind of enemy will appear. Stay sharp. All four nodded. It was expected that dragons would appear, but this one was a unique monster. The probability of it being different from ordinary dragons was high. We couldn't predict it casually. Edis was also talking to her party members. I'd already given them the information I had. They would handle it on their own. "Is everyone here?" Isel looked around at the members of the three parties and put her hands on her hips. "I'm going to start distributing consumables. Once the distribution is done, we'll depart immediately. Stay focused. Listen to what Han says." "She's quite tamed. Did you give some honey to that fairy?" Velkis teased, glancing at me and Isel. I didn't respond and just smiled. "Isel, if I get back, you're in for a lot of honey." The potion distribution went smoothly. Party 1 received 2 potions per person, and the other parties received 1 potion per person. It's starting. At the top of my field of vision, Anything's control panel moved. When the Expedition tab was clicked, the stage window appeared. As Anything touched the 20th floor, a warning message appeared. "Caution! This mission requires 3 parties, a major mission. If you don't have enough party members, use paid or free summoning to replenish your heroes. Parties can be divided into the vanguard and rearguard. Depending on the master's choice, the process will be different, so choose carefully. Tips: the rearguard can go into action when the vanguard meets certain conditions or after a certain amount of time has passed. As expected, the 20th floor was a major mission requiring 3 parties, but the separation into the vanguard and rearguard was unexpected. I briefly recalled the types of missions with such conditions. It gave me a bit of a headache. You selected Party 1 as the vanguard. Do you agree? Yes. Open the rift of time and space. Clunk. The large gate in front of the plaza opened wide. The left mirror flickered faintly. After taking a deep breath, Isel stopped Edis from entering first. "Stop! Don't go in, you guys. This time Party 1 will be the first to go." What's that supposed to mean? "We are going ahead. If you wait, the master will open the door for you. Just follow us when that happens." Clunk. I firmly secured the sheath on my belt and headed toward the rift. The 4 followed me behind. As I passed Edis, I whispered, "This time the rearguard might be more important. Please keep that in mind." "I got it." Edis briefly wore a dissatisfied expression, but soon her face relaxed and she stepped back. "We'll wait here until the master calls us." "All right." "I wanted to fight together." "It won't be long before that happens," I said. as I entered the rift. Tisk. As Jenna stepped in last, the door closed with a heavy sound. Preparations were complete. They had perfectly carried out my instructions. Velkist had raised his overall combat abilities, including his weapon skills, to the next level. Jenna had learned the longbow skill that enhanced the destructiveness of her arrows. Getting a third weapon was a bonus. Behind Jenna, in addition to the short bow, a large bow was hanging. Eloka had also learned the multicasting skill recently. She wasn't sure if she had reached the 4th level, but she assured me that it would be different from what we'd experienced so far. Moreover, through concentric sparring, she had thoroughly learned personal survival skills. Even if we didn't protect her, she would be able to hold out against the enemy to some extent. "Why is it so quiet, Oppa? Don't you have anything to say? Like, do it this way or that way." "Just do as we'd been doing." "Ah, boring." I laughed at Jenna's complaining tone. Unlike the 15th floor, there was no separate briefing here. We would find out what mission we would face once we entered. We just needed to follow orders depending on the situation. The light from the left mirror became stronger. "Main dungeon. Current challenge floor is 20. The door will open in 10 seconds. Get ready. Mission recording is in progress. Play records will be preserved." Swish! I drew my sword from the sheath and spoke in a low voice. "As I said before, just do as we've been doing. Don't panic and we'll be fine." "Of course," Nerissa smiled. When the light scattered, we were on the 20th floor stage, the final floor of the labyrinth. I scanned the area. The large halls that were at the entrances from the 16th to the 19th floors had completely disappeared, leaving only long and tall corridors ahead. "We've arrived," Nerissa said, fastening her rapier at her waist. Her gaze was fixed on the corridor walls. I followed her gaze. Dozens of paintings lined the walls. In each ornate frame, men and women dressed in splendid clothes were prominent. "These paintings look incredibly expensive." "They're the portraits of the past lords and ladies," Nerissa replied to Jenna. Jenna was first surprised, then nodded. "We didn't come here to sightsee," I said concisely. The preparations for the large-scale encounter were complete. I stood at the front. With every step, my feet touched luxurious carpets. Ugh! In the corners of the corridor, people lay, moaning. They differed in gender, clothing, and age, but they all had one thing in common. They were spitting out black blood. I had seen similar people among the soldiers. Their blood was murky reddish-black, similar to ordinary blood at first glance, but upon closer inspection, you could tell. I didn't bother to tell the members about this. Focusing on unnecessary things would reduce their concentration. The seemingly endless corridor finally came to an end. I stood in front of a giant door and said, "Once we enter this door, the mission begins." The eyes of the 4 focused on me. "Iloka, prepare your magic as soon as you enter. Jenna, load your arrows on the longbow. Velkist and Nerissa, stay with me and act according to the situation." "All right." "Yes." "Got it." Bang! I pushed the door with all my strength. A part of the door sunk in and splinters of wood flew. "Let's go." I entrusted myself to the darkness that spread beyond the door. The twisting darkness approached me and the members of Party 1. And then, "Warning! Warning! Warning!" A loud siren blared. Along with the 3-tiered warning message announcing a high-difficulty mission, the objective was updated. Floor 20. Mission type, subjugation. Objective, annihilate the designated enemy. I glanced around. The place beyond the door was entirely different from the mansion. Fine sand covered the floor. Behind us, a tall wall stretched for several meters, curving in a circle around us. There were stairs leading up to the wall, but unexpectedly, a transparent barrier was erected. "We've ended up in another strange place," Jenna said, narrowing her gaze, arrow knocked in her longbow. With the string pulled taut, she was ready to release an arrow at any moment. "Iloka!" Iloka immediately began chanting. Although we couldn't spot the enemy, it was essential to follow my orders. It was a natural judgment. Now they would show themselves. Hee 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 hee. Somewhere, laughter echoed. I looked toward the source of the sound. A man in a flashy red coat was staring at us. Black veins coursed through his eyes. A growling voice came from his lips. "Because of you! Fire!" Swish! An arrow shot from the longbow pierced the man. It was more potent than most bullets. The man's left torso was torn apart, and black blood sprayed out. Then, billowing flames engulfed his entire body, and... Explode! Boom, boom, boom! The flames exploded. Sand, propelled by the shock, soared into the sky and scattered in all directions. The sand particles swirled in the air, creating a temporary haze. "Don't stop shooting. Both of you keep firing. I'll go left, Velkist and Nerissa go right. Let's press them from both sides." "That's the plan." "They won't get any mercy," Velkist chuckled, moving to the right, with Nerissa following closely behind. I brandished my sword and stepped to the left. Simultaneously, I lowered my body and used the recoil to dash forward. In the haze of sand, crimson eyes flashed. Cry! A roar that made the air tremble. Amidst the swirling dust, the enemy's figure was revealed. "Master, a unique monster has appeared." Tips. Sometimes there are rare monsters that exist as single individuals. Take note. Useless tips. Danger. Half-black dragon, Halgarith, level 42, approximately 5 meters in size. A body resembling a lizard with wings and a tail. Shiny black scales covered his entire body. Vertically slitted red pupils locked onto me. Thud. An arrow from Jenna's longbow embedded itself in the black dragon's body. The arrow that had penetrated between the scales soon lost its strength and fell. This monster is physically immune. Iloka's magic followed. Flames augmented with telekinesis engulfed the entire dragon and exploded simultaneously. This monster is magically immune. A groan mixed with a metallic sound escaped the creature's mouth. I furrowed my brow and swung my sword with all my might at the exposed neck of the creature. This monster is physically immune. Thud. A blue flame erupted and the blade rebounded. On the opposite side, Velkist faced a similar situation. The tip of Velkist's sword, aimed at the gaps in the scales, slid off uselessly. This monster is physically immune. The dragon curled its body like a ball. "Get away from him!" I sheathed my sword and quickly retreated. The dragon's folded body expanded and hundreds of sharp scales shot out in all directions. "This bastard!" Pa 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 pa. Scales mercilessly pierced the nearby sand. I stepped back, using my sword to deflect the scales and my shield to block them. Nerissa, 2 stars, is in a bleeding state. Health decreases periodically. I glanced over. Blood was flowing from Nerissa's left forearm. Velkist had resistance to ranged attacks, and Jenna and Iloka were at a distance, but Nerissa was in a precarious situation. "It's okay. It's nothing," Nerissa said quickly, taking out a potion and applying it to her wound. The black dragon continued to gaze at us from its position. Thud. Jenna's arrow hit the crimson iris. This monster is physically immune. The thick arrow meant for a longbow fell onto the sand. "What is that? It doesn't seem to be affected by anything," Jenna said in surprise. I moved toward Iloka and Jenna. "For now, let's regroup." All members of the first party gathered in one place. Velkist spoke with a frustrated expression, his gaze fixed on the creature. "Neither swords nor arrows work. Magic seems useless too. Are its scales that tough?" "It's not that they're tough, it just doesn't seem to be affected." "What do you mean?" "No matter how much we attack, it seems to have no effect. If it had physical immunity, it would ignore any kind of attack. That was immunity. Magic was the same." "What do we do then? There seems to be no way." We'll discuss it later. Here it comes. Prepare. Claws measuring 50 centimeters in length emerged from the black dragon's hands. Iloka's complexion turned pale. Crah! Like a snake crawling on the ground, the black dragon approached, digging the sand with its claws.
Chapter 82. His incredible speed defied his sturdy build. The black dragon closed the 10-meter gap in the blink of an eye. Its outstretched left hand, tipped with claws, writhed behind it. I tightened my grip on the shield. Velkist! I know! Boom! Its thick left hand swung like a log. I lowered my posture and held the shield in front of me. Kaboom! The shield crumpled instantly, blade marks marring its surface. An overwhelming shock surged through me, threatening to throw my whole body off balance. To avoid falling, I stepped back a few paces. At the same time, its right hand swung. Velkist and Nerissa were right behind it. Swish! As flames hit the black dragon's face while we tried to intercept its attack, a message appeared. This monster is immune to magic. Next, the tail. I retrieved the shield and quickly moved backward. The tail extended upward like a scorpion's and swept forward, passing like a blade over Velkist's prostrate head, sending a few strands of his hair flying. What can we do if our attacks don't work? Thud! Its right claw raked the area where Velkist had been. Velkist rolled rapidly on the ground to get out of range. I struck out with my sword at the outstretched left hand, which was aiming for Velkist. There was a strong rebound. Ping, 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 ping. Jenna switched to a short bow and fired arrows relentlessly, but they had no effect. The shattered arrow fragments fell lifeless. The black dragon's left hand swung again. I twisted my body to narrowly evade it. Each finger had long, sharp claws. Its attack range was not ordinary. The right hand was the same. The scales on its tail stood like blades. I moved back significantly. The black dragon's mouth opened, biting down on the spot where I had been standing. Teeth, like gears, were revealed inside its jaws, shining white. At the same time, the left hand, right hand, and tail, the creature used its entire body as a weapon to drive us back. The target of its attacks. I analyzed the creature's attack pattern. The main targets were me and Velkist. It tended to deal with those in front first. It hadn't touched Jenna or Iloka. I called out to them while avoiding its claws. Jenna, Iloka, stay as far away from me as possible. All right. The two of them hurriedly moved away. You guys too, go! The left and right hands swung together. 10 claws swept through the entire area. I deflected 2 of the claws with my shield and sword, then slipped into the exposed gap. The sand stirred by the claws shot up into the sky. What do you mean by saying go? It means exactly that. I'm the only one dealing with this bastard. What? Are you kidding? Crash! I stopped the tail that was targeting Velkist with my sword. Nerissa, who was behind Velkist, threw a poison dagger. The dagger aimed at the gap in the scales bounced off. This monster is physically immune. This guy has a tendency to only attack one person. It's a waste of stamina if everyone sticks to him. And I looked at the scales of the black dragon stuck in the corner of the field. Black energy leaked from the scales, swelling like smoke and taking the shape of a human. Its appearance was blurry, but it had a human form. Corrupted Shadow, level 14. You guys have other things to do. The Shadow's hands had black claws. Black smoke was also billowing from other scales embedded in the sand. Velkist looked at them and clicked his tongue. Okay, I understand. Can you hold on while we deal with those guys? Yes, there definitely is. Quasick! The claws slammed into the shield. My shoulders creaked. I continued. There's definitely a way. I'll leave it to you. Let's go. Velkist and Nerissa escaped. The shadows gathered quickly near the two of them. Iloka clutched her forehead. What's this now? Velkist's sword pierced the head of the shadow. The shadow writhed and then vanished. Our attacks work on them. Let's deal with them quickly. We just need to hold on until the opportunity comes, Jenna said. Her expression hardened as she nocked an arrow. The 4 of them gathered and formed a formation. Velkist and Nerissa were at the front, Jenna and Iloka at the rear.
It was a formation we had practiced in case I was absent. They began dealing with the gathering shadows one by one. They're doing well. It wasn't just casual training. Even in what seemed like a hopeless situation, they were handling it calmly. Physically immune, magic immune. Krah! The black dragon roared right in front of me. I felt intense pressure in my ears. I thrust my sword into its throat. This monster is physically immune. Still, this is a pain. I chuckled despite it. Its claws grazed my thigh. If it weren't for the reinforced plates and leather, my flesh would have been torn apart like paper. Han, 2 stars, has entered a bleeding state. Health will decrease at regular intervals. I jumped back and sheathed my sword. Then I pulled out a potion and sprayed it on the wound. I tossed the empty glass bottle carelessly. The creature was approaching. We can't hold out for long, not me nor the others. Sufficient means we won't die right away, not that it's easy. Clang, clang, clang. The claws struck, and each blow made my shield crumple. If it had been an ordinary shield from the workshop, it would have been destroyed already. My left arm joint throbbed painfully. The tail brushed against my side. The leather armor was torn away. Attacks don't work, and it's not easy to dodge, let alone block. One blow is like an artillery shell. If my equipment was subpar or my stats weren't good, I would have been minced long ago. Left hand, right hand, head, and tail. I defended while looking for gaps in its patterns, but Han, 2 stars, has entered a bleeding state. Health will decrease at regular intervals. The second bleeding message appeared. There was no opportunity to drink a potion this time. Is Oppa in danger? Focus on yourselves, I yelled without turning back. The scales buried in the sand were not in small numbers. If we didn't deal with them in time, they would become a problem. Then, after 3 minutes, Iloka, not able to bear it any longer, screamed.
What on earth is this? Our attacks don't work. Weird creatures keep coming. Are they telling us to die? I glanced back. Blood was flowing through Iloka's torn clothes. The other 3 didn't look good either. The shadows kept rising. I swung my sword at the black dragon's eye. This monster is physically immune. Damn. The black dragon's pupils narrowed mockingly. I quickly rolled to the side. Its claws and tail plunged deeply into the ground. Sand sprayed like a fountain. I managed to avoid a fatal blow, but my reinforced armor was already in tatters. I shouted, "Hold on a little longer!" "How long are we supposed to wait?" Velkist's voice was filled with irritation. "I don't know." I swallowed the rest of my words. There was no time. The black dragon unrelentlessly pursued me. I couldn't afford to think for too long. We could only endure and look around. Waiting, I whispered to myself. An invincible foe, endless shadow summons, a situation that seemed utterly hopeless. But the circumstances were gradually changing. First, the audience. On the battlements, countless chairs had appeared out of nowhere, and in those chairs, dozens of armored soldiers were seated, as if they were spectators watching our fight. Secondly, I quickly stepped back. The black dragon's claws extended like spears, leaving a small scratch on my neck. The black dragon lunged at me, seemingly trying to crush me with its entire body. I exerted force in my toes and leapt away. The distance between us increased. When I watch some base fights, I can't help but think that this mission looks quite interesting, Velkist said, who was behind me. The extended blade of his sword was covered in black blood. "Are you sure you can kill that thing?" "You're talking a lot." I took a shallow breath. Pain surged through me. My whole body was covered in minor wounds already. The black dragon was standing up, looking at me. Its crimson pupils glowed ominously. "Field formation completed. Master, deployment of the reinforcements is now available. Extend a helping hand to the hero in distress." Green holograms etched letters into the air. Select the reinforcements. Designated party. First party engaged. Second party. Third party. Flash. A bright white light appeared in one corner of the battlement. Everyone's gaze turned toward it. "It's a bit late," I chuckled. Second party has been selected. Party composition. Edis, 3 stars. Roderick, 3 stars. Do you want to send them on the mission? Yes. The light shone so brightly that it enveloped the entire field, and from within the light, figures emerged one by one. Jenna, who had been staring blankly, exclaimed, "Those people! It's the second party! Edith, who was at the front, spotted us beneath the battlement. Her expression froze. Han? But that person is... Unfortunately, there was no time to explain. Krrrr! The black dragon charged. I quickly moved away from the first party area. The black dragon followed, swinging its front paws back and forth. I blocked the swinging tail with my shield. Crash! The shield flew from my left hand. It was unusable. The battered shield had split in half and stuck into the sand. My only remaining weapon was a single sword. Losing it would be dangerous. Young Nim! Aaron rushed towards me in desperation. An invisible barrier blocked his way. Above the battlement, below the arena. They were two separate fields. You must have understood the situation. With my back against the battlement, I spoke to Edith above. Edith, who had been observing me, the first party in the center of the arena, and the black dragon on the battlement from above nodded silently. With a soft sound, 2 daggers spun in Edith's palm. Second party, prepare for battle. Our target? Roderick asked, and Edith pointed to a small altar at the end of the battlement. A goddess statue stood on the altar, and a faint red light surrounded it. 18 level 18 human soldiers, 5 level 20 human knights. The soldiers who had been sitting on the chairs all stood up. Their lively gazes were fixed on the second party. Roderick and Archer unsheathed their spears and swords. The newly joined archer in the second party fitted an arrow to the bow. I'm in your care, I muttered, as I dashed forward. Edith's daggers pierced the forehead of the frontmost soldier. To the left and right of Edith, Roderick and Aaron swung their long spears. The soldiers who took the blows fell, vomiting blood. Krah! The black dragon's claws struck the battlement. I had no shield. Blocking had become difficult. I focused on every move the creature made. The vanguard handles the boss. The rear handles the objective. A multitask mission. I swung down with my sword. This monster is physically immune. This bastard was still immune.
Chapter 83. Claws struck from left and right. I raised my sword and shifted my left foot to the side. The blade met the claws, sending sparks flying. Kaga! An ominous sound echoed through the sword's hilt. I couldn't predict when the sword's durability would run out. Diran, focus on the crossbowmen! On top of the fortress wall, Edis was in the midst of commanding the battle. Following Edis's orders, the archer targeted the crossbowmen. Edis, jumping high, also cut the throat of one crossbowman. Hold on just a bit longer! We'll break through soon! Edis shouted while looking at us below. She realized that prolonging the battle would make it tougher for us. The formation prioritized speed over stability. Side by side, Aaron and Roderick's spears swept through the soldiers like a windmill. What will happen if the second party reaches that place? Shh. Aloka spoke while casting fire. 2 shadows, engulfed in flames, fell. It's definitely going to be different from before. Focus! I tightened my grip on the sword. The members of the first party, standing in a circle, held their positions. Around them, a dozen or so shadows closed in. I tore through the shadows with my sword and said, "Until the second party reaches the altar, deal with all the shadows. Got it?" "We need some magic." "Yes, a level 3 spell." "Understood. Give me some casting time." Jenna drew her dagger and stood behind Aloka. It was a triangle centered around Aloka, piercing through the shadows where long swords, short swords, and daggers gathered. Krah! Noisy bastard. The black dragon opened its mouth wide, trying to bite me. I twisted my shoulder to avoid it and struck its eye with my elbow. This monster is immune to physical attacks. Pain like crushing concrete shot through my elbow. I frowned. I had seen this message many times, but there wasn't much time left. I looked at the wall behind me. The second party hadn't been idling either. Edis and Roderick were at the forefront, cleaning up the soldiers. The second party passed over the fortress wall. In their wake, the bodies of soldiers piled up. The distance to the altar was less than 10 meters. Ignite! The surging flames swept the shadows away. Under Velkist and Nerissa's guidance, the shadows gathered in one place. Explode! Qua, qua, qua! Boom! The flames exploded in unison. Sand rose high into the sky, and the intense heat reached us. Sublimate! Thwack! A pillar of fire erupted from the center of the explosion. The 3 members of the first party quickly retreated with Iloka. The swirling shadows were more than 20. She annihilated all of them in one go. Iloka gasped for breath. Her face had turned pale. "Sister, drink this!" Jenna rummaged through Iloka's pouch and handed her a mana potion. Iloka nodded and guzzled down the potion. "The cleanup is done." The shadows wouldn't appear for a while. The only enemy left was this guy. I hit the tail that bent like a whip with my sword. And then... grrr. The soldier blocking the altar had his throat split, blood spewing. Edis twirled the blood-soaked dagger. This was the last one. "Han, what should we do now?" "Place your hand on the altar." "All right." Edis placed her hand on the goddess statue. The red light that had been circling the altar was turning white. Second party has occupied the altar. The black dragon's tail and claws swiped. The armor on its shoulders was torn, and blood flowed. I caught my breath and stepped back. Velkist followed. "Now I'll join the boss fight too." "It's not your choice. I'll make you do that if you don't want to." I smiled. With sound effects, a hologram window appeared in my field of vision. The altar's effect is applied. "Master, the blessing of the goddess is now available. Slide the crystal. Bestow sacred power on the hero." Wings unfolded behind the black dragon's back. Sharp thorns sprouted at the tips of his wings. The black dragon swung his tail and wings simultaneously. Velkist swung his sword. At that moment, the screen was covered. Ding! Applied successfully. Sacred power is imbued in the hero's weapon. Shock! The membrane of the wings tore apart. Crimson blood splattered on the ground. The black dragon staggered back. Velkist furrowed his brow. Velkist's sword, which he held in his right hand, was shining white. My sword was the same. The same light lingered on Jenna's dagger, Iloka's quiver, and Nerissa's rapier. I aimed my sword at the black dragon. The time to deal with that bastard has come. "It seems so," Velkist chuckled. The black dragon took a few steps back and glared at us. Grrr. The boiling sound of his throat suddenly stopped. Scales all over his body began to stand up. "Scales launch. Get ready." Bub-bub-bub-bub. The second round of scales fired. I leaned my shoulder against Velkist. I deflected the left scales, while Velkist deflected the right scales. Nerissa and Jenna, who were farther away, protected Iloka as they stepped back. Shhh. And just as expected, corrupted shadow level 14 times unknown. Shadows began to rise from the scales embedded in the sand. We retreated to our base once more. I wiped the scale fragments off my sword and said, "As you can see, our attacks work on it now. But it doesn't look that easy. Oppa, what's your plan?" We split the party into 2 groups, one for the boss and one for the shadows. We'll switch roles as we fight. As the shadows piled up, it would become a burden to fight both the black dragon and the shadows. We needed to adjust to a reasonable number. However, considering the formation, it would be difficult to deal with both the shadows and the black dragon simultaneously. We had to divide our numbers wisely. I'm Group 1, Velkist and Nerissa, your Group 2, Jenna and Iloka, Group 3. Groups 1 and 2 will take turns fighting the dragon. Group 3 will provide rear support. Group 2 will start first. I need a break. The shadows were numerous, but not particularly strong. But facing the black dragon would consume a lot of stamina. We needed to take turns fighting him. Understood. We'll handle it. Start now. I swung my sword and severed the neck of the shadow that had been lurking nearby. Velkist and Nerissa rushed the black dragon from both sides. Velkist's sword tip shot out like a beam of light, piercing the dragon's shoulder. Black blood spurted from the gap in his scales. Still not that easy. Immunity may have been nullified, but the scales were tough and the skin was thick. If we could kill it in one go, all 5 of us would rush in and finish it off. But judging from the situation, we had to prepare for a long battle. I picked off one shadow at a time with Jenna, who had her back to me. I can't afford to leave them alone. As I looked towards the altar, a bitter smile formed. "Knock the ladders down! Don't let them climb up!" Edis shouted. Ladders were hung over the walls. Enemies from the other side were gathering. They were either raising ladders against the walls or crawling up to rush the altar.
The time they can hold out for is limited. They couldn't hold them off indefinitely. Sooner or later, our defenses would be breached and the altar's occupation would be lifted. We had prepared for a protracted battle, but we didn't have much time to spare. Krah! The black dragon roared, dripping blood from all over its body. Velkist and Nerissa continued to attack from both sides. "Jenna, stop using the dagger. Shoot the dragon with your longbow. I can handle the shadows alone." "I'll take care of it." Jenna pulled out her longbow and took aim. Behind her, Iloka was downing mana potions. I slashed 3 shadows in one go with my sword. I also grabbed a potion and drank it immediately. Dang! An arrow pierced through the air and penetrated the black dragon's body. The arrowhead, embedded deep into its roots, quivered. Black blood splattered in all directions. Velkist's sword, shining like light, pierced the dragon's wing again. I finished off the remaining shadows one by one. "Velkist, Nerissa, change with me. Drink the potion as soon as you get back." "Okay." Thanks to emptying the entire potion, my stamina recovered to some extent. I stepped on the floor and ran towards the black dragon. Velkist and Nerissa retreated. The black dragon's eyes caught me. "Catch this!" I drew the dagger with my left hand. The blade was poisoned, capable of killing in a matter of minutes. "Quick!" The thrown dagger lodged itself in the vertical pupil of the dragon's left eye. Black blood oozed from its eyelid. I can't use frenzy yet. Once used, it's difficult to reverse. I have to reserve my frenzy for the finishing blow. I twirled my body and swung my sword. From the side, claws descended, and the sword blade gleamed white. The severed claw of the black dragon was stuck in the castle wall. I grabbed the dagger hilt embedded in the left eye of the dragon and pulled it to the side. Grah! The dragon roared fiercely, lifting its neck. Blood, now tinged with purple, flowed down its eyelid. "Han, we can't hold on much longer!" Edis shouted urgently. I glanced quickly at the top of the castle wall. Beyond the altar, dozens of soldiers had already entered. Asher and Aaron were blocking the narrow path. "I know." Quack! As I jumped sideways, the tail struck the sand. I swung my sword towards the tail, but it only left a small cut. There was no significant injury. I lack a decisive blow. I bit my lip. The black dragon had significant injuries, but I hadn't dealt a critical blow to stop it yet. The vulnerable points of a dragon are commonly 2, the throat or the heart. However, the skin around its neck and heart is particularly thick and tough. Blood was oozing from various parts of its body, but it was still insufficient. Ooh-ah! I looked at the castle wall. Asher, 2 stars, is in a bleeding state. Health decreases periodically. A spear was embedded in Asher's abdomen. Foam mixed with blood flowed from his mouth. Edis's face stiffened rapidly. "Pull him back!" Aaron bent over and pulled Asher back from the front line. Roderick took his place. Emergency treatment with potions began. "Isn't this dangerous?" Iloka exclaimed. I furrowed my brow. We reached the limit faster than expected. In the end, there's only one option. Take the gamble. If we lost the altar, it would be a total defeat. The remaining 4 members of the 2 parties could hold out for a long time, maybe around 5 minutes at most. I was prepared to call Velkist and Nerissa whether it worked or not. Kugukugoom. At that moment, a violent vibration shook the field.
I pinpointed the source of the vibration. A tower was rising from a corner on the opposite side of the castle wall where the two parties were. Field configuration complete. Master, rear support is now available. At the top of the tower was a ballista with thick arrows. Selecting rear support. Designated parties. First party in battle. Second party in battle. Third party. Edis, who was fighting off one soldier, looked at the opposite castle wall. Third party has been selected. Party members, Sharn, 2 stars, Rodel, 2 stars. Assigned to the mission, yes. As the light shone, a short-haired girl walked out. She held a sword and shield in both hands. Sharn Aonor. She was the leader of the third party, replacing Valkist. Following her, the members of the third party were being summoned one by one. Huh? Sharn blinked and then looked around. Our gazes met. Run, I said. What? Run to the tower! Krah! The black dragon roared. I leaped backwards. Claws overturned the sand. I spit out the sand that had entered my mouth. Don't you see it? Go up the tower. Aim that ballista at this freaking lizard. Okay. Sharn rushed to the castle wall. Behind her, members of the third party followed. Next to them, ladders were hanging.
Chapter 84. The second backup had arrived. This time, the created object was a ballista. There was already a bolt the size of a human body loaded into the firing mechanism. It was the weapon I had been hoping for, a chance at a decisive blow. However, I looked to the opposite side of the tower. 43 level 18 human soldiers and 6 level 20 human knights were climbing up from below the castle walls, rushing toward the altar like a torrent. The tip of a sword grazed Edis's cheek. Small drops of blood splattered. Edis's expression contorted. While dead soldiers fell from the castle wall one after another, even more kept coming, surging forward relentlessly. "Hurry!" I shouted to the third party running toward the tower, then gripped my sword tightly. "Valkist, it's time to switch." "I agree." I stepped back from my position. At that moment, the black dragon's jaws came charging, but Valkist's sword thrust into its snout. "Cool." "Sounds satisfying," Valkist chuckled as he retrieved his sword. Next to him, Nerissa stood with her rapier at the ready. Venom dripped from the gleaming tip of her white blade. "Do you think the poison is effective?" "To some extent." The black dragon's left eye was closed. Between the closed eyelids, a thin stream of purple blood trickled down. "It's lost its depth perception. Use that well." "I'll keep that in mind." Krah. They dodged the swinging tail with a leap. I moved toward our party members. Along the way, I encountered a few shadows. I slowed my movement, dodged, then slashed their throats. I dispatched all 5 shadowy figures and joined our base. Bang! Jenna, who had finished aiming, released the trigger. The arrow, tearing through the air, struck the black dragon's wing. "How many arrows do you have left?" About 5. "Use them all." "Got it." I took out the remaining half of a potion and drank it. I assessed the situation. The second party was defending the altar on the left side of the castle wall. On the right side, the third party was ascending the tower where the ballista was installed, followed by soldiers chasing them. There's no time. Once the altar is retaken and the blessing disappears, this monster will become immune again. Our chances of winning were less than 10%. We had to finish it off before the second party's defenses were completely broken. I threw the empty glass bottle and swept away the shadows near our base. "I'm coming for Sharn." I saw Sharn climbing the tower through the window, her party and soldiers behind her. "Take care of the ballista. The other 4 blocked the path." I raised my voice so Sharn could hear me. The short-haired girl nodded. Soon, Sharn, who had climbed to the top of the tower, began to handle the ballista. "How do you shoot this?" "Do I have to explain that too?" "I'll try. The rest of you, protect us." "Hurry!" Edis's tone became urgent. The second party retreated to the rear, but they were reaching their limit. Aloka, who had emptied 2 bottles of mana potions, asked, "Shall I shoot one more time if the situation is right?" A white flame rose from Aloka's hand. It was different from the flame she used before. This one was affected by the blessing. I sliced the shadows with my sword and said, "It's not the time.
Wait! Okay!
Bang! Jenna's last arrow hit the creature's body. There were a total of 7 arrows embedded in the black dragon, but it paid no attention and continued to move relentlessly. It seems this won't be enough. It's incredibly tough, I frowned. I just used my last arrow. From now on, take out your daggers, deal with the shadows, and protect Aloka. Got it. What about you? I'm joining the front lines. At the top of the tower, Sean was fiddling with the ballista, her face showing a preserved expression. Squeak, squeak. With the sound of metal clashing, the ballista's body turned slowly. Sean, holding the aiming device, had a perplexed look as she aimed at the black dragon. That thing, it's too fast! That's why I'm going, I muttered and raised my sword. The black dragon alternated its attacks between Velkist and Nerissa. The moment I joined them, it swept the ground with its tail. I kicked it away and slashed with my sword. Black blood splattered, and I said to the two of them, "There's a ballista behind us. We need to pin the creature down so the arrows hit." "Got it," Velkist nodded. Nerissa held out her rapier to me. I placed my blade on the rapier and drew. My blade was tainted with venom. The black dragon, with only its right eye remaining, roared. Its wings folded, obscuring its sight. Velkist pushed its left wing, and Nerissa pushed its right wing. I charged forward and thrust the venom-coated sword deep into the creature's right leg. "Now, fire!" Boom! A sound like an explosion rang out. The massive bolt shot from the ballista embedded itself in the black dragon's side. The bolt was over 2 meters long. Blood gushed out like a waterfall, and the dragon's body leaned heavily to one side. Just one more shot! It was not enough. If we could land just one more, Aloka could prepare her magic and we could finish it off. I shouted toward the tower, "Reload!" At that moment, a message appeared. "Sharn, 2 stars, has returned to the embrace of the goddess. Her determination will be remembered forever." I urgently looked up at the tower. On the ballista platform, Sharn lay prone. Blood flowed from an arrow lodged in her throat. "She's dead!" Outside the tower door, a soldier's arrow had pierced her throat. One of her party members, who had been swinging his sword frantically, noticed Sharn's lifeless body. "Ugh!" Nadine, 2 stars, is feeling fear. All attributes are reduced by 30%. A weak groan escaped from the man's lips. I gritted my teeth and shouted, "Clear the body! Someone else take the ballista!" The other members also turned their attention to Sharn, but their reactions were different from my orders. Ronnie, 2 stars, is panicking. All attributes are reduced by 50%. Zakael, 2 stars, is in fear. These idiots! They lacked experience. The sudden surge of fear overwhelmed the 3 parties like wildfire. Velkist's expression grew thin. This is not going well. The black dragon was still staggering, but it would continue moving. The bolt that had pierced its side did not seem like a fatal wound. I turned my sword vertically and shouted, "We must pile up damage before it recovers. Prepare to attack." "What about the ballista?" "Leave it alone." Even though one of them got killed, if they had remained calm, a second shot might have been possible. But my voice did not reach them. The rapid decline in abilities had broken through their defenses. Ronnie, 2 stars, has returned to the embrace of the goddess. His determination will be remembered forever. Death messages kept appearing. Soldiers were pushing through the breached defenses of the third party. Nadine, 2 stars, has returned to the embrace of the goddess. His determination will be remembered forever.
Zakael, 2 stars, has returned to the embrace of the goddess. His determination will be remembered. My blade remained stuck in the black dragon's right leg. I pulled out a dagger from my belt and moved to the dragon's side. I examined the spot where the bolt had struck. Among the torn scales and leather, I saw a vital spot. Without hesitation, I plunged the dagger in. Grr, grr, grr. A boiling sound emanated from the dragon's throat. Party 3 has been wiped out. The right side of the castle wall had been completely occupied. Asher, 2 stars, is in a critical condition. His life is in danger.
We're done for.
Thud, thud, thud. I continued to drive the dagger into the dragon's wound. The dragon twitched with each strike, but there was no noticeable reaction. When Velkist and Nerissa were about to launch another attack,
Grrr! The dragon roared and spun its body around. I quickly stepped back. The long sword that had been stuck in its front leg was flung away, sliding across the ground. I picked it up with my foot and held it in my right hand. Asher! Asher, 2 stars, has returned to the embrace of the goddess. His determination will be remembered. In the second party, the first casualty had occurred. There's no time for that. Aloka, prepare your magic. There's just no time. I looked back. The main base was surrounded by dozens of shadows. Jenna brandished her dagger, and Aloka swung her white flames like torches to dispel the shadows. You two, get back. I'll stay here. Understood. Stay safe. The 2 of them rushed back to the main base. I stood my sword upright. The blade had a faint golden web-like pattern on its surface. Grr, grr, grr. Foam mixed with saliva dripped from the black dragon's mouth. Jenna's arrows covered its body, and a ballista bolt was lodged in its side. Its wings were torn to shreds, and its entire body was covered in gaping wounds oozing blood. Purple was mixed in with the blood. The poison had intensified. But it wasn't dead. The creature stared at me with its one remaining eye, blinking. Cry! The black dragon swung its right hand. I twisted my upper body to dodge it. I'm targeting its heart. The part where the ballista bolt was lodged, where the scales were torn away. According to my analysis, if I drove a sword all the way in there, it would reach the heart. If it didn't matter. That area was where the vital organs gathered. I could inflict a fatal wound. Party 1, when I give the signal, we'll focus our attacks on it. Got it? Got it. We're almost done here. I looked toward the altar. It was shaky, but they were holding the last line of defense. Edis was in the front, followed by Roderick and Aaron. In the rear was the archer, Durin. The 4 of them formed a defensive line, blocking the enemy's advance. Edis, just 1 more minute. I prepared to charge. At that moment, a blade erupted from Durin's chest as she aimed her bow from the edge of the wall. Durin, 2 stars, has returned to the embrace of the goddess. Her determination will be remembered. In the second party, the first casualty had occurred. There's no time for that. I raised my sword and charged. My target was the heart. I avoided the claws and wings, and with all my strength, I thrust the hilt into it. The altar has been retaken. The blessing of the goddess is lifted. Kang! This monster is physically immune. The shattered sword blade flew into the air. I tossed aside my sword with only the hilt remaining. The black dragon crouched down, shooting scales. A shattered shield lay beneath its feet. I grabbed it and quickly retreated. Thud, thud, thud. Using the remaining half of the shield to block the scales, I retreated to the main base. The dozens of shadows concealed their presence. I spit out the saliva mixed with blood and asked, "What happened?" "It looks like soldiers appeared behind the altar." I looked to the left wall. Close to 100 soldiers were swarming around the altar. The white light that had surrounded them had returned to its original crimson hue. Behind them, the second party stood motionless on the ladder, with soldiers relentlessly climbing up. "The altar has been reclaimed." Velkist raised his sword. The white light surrounding the sword faded away. Edis swallowed a groan. The soldiers didn't rush the second party, but they surrounded the altar, aiming their weapons. In an instant, the balance of power had shifted. "We need to break through, right?" Edis said bitterly. Our bodies were already soaked in blood. "Is it possible? 115 level 18 human soldiers? 32 level 20 human knights?" There were about 150 soldiers at the altar, and their numbers were increasing. On the other hand, our party had suffered casualties, with Asher and Durin dead. Among the surviving members, none were in top condition. "It's like what happened on the 5th floor," Jenna chuckled awkwardly. I let out a deep sigh. "There's no way to get through unscathed. What should we do? Reclaiming the altar? Forget it." I reached out my hand to Velkist. He furrowed his brow. "What?" "Give me your sword." Velkist handed me his longsword. I said, "It's not over yet."
Chapter 85. Han, let's give it one more try. Edis shouted from atop the ramparts. I shook my head.
Their formation had crumbled when Asher and Diren died. Just the fact that the three of them were still alive was a stroke of luck. If you do that, you will die. Stay put and watch. If we don't go, we'll finish this on our own. Edis bit her lip, her head bowed. It wasn't the fault of the second party. We were just one step short of having a good third party, which would have made dealing with the creature much easier. In the end, it's a gamble. I pointed my blade at Elika. Ignite the flames. What? The white flames in your hand. Use them on my blade. White flames danced in Elika's right hand. It was the blessing attribute fire that Elika had drawn out before the altar was occupied. Try infusing it with elemental power. You can do it, right? I'll mix in some telekinesis energy. Elika took a deep breath and extended the flames from her palm to the sword. Sssss. The sound of burning wood accompanied the white flames merging with the blade. Just once. If we amplify this, I can use magic only once. Elika looked at the remaining embers in her hand. That should be enough. What do we do now? Grrr. The black dragon knelt, drawing closer. Shadows emerged from its scales, gathering around it. Don't let them lay a finger on Elika. Understood. Nerissa handed Velkist a dagger. Velkist accepted it. Opa, stay strong. No need to say it. I smiled and readied my sword, dispersing the white flames into a circular pattern. The flames on the blade wouldn't last long. If the creature was still intact by then, we'd be done for. This time, it ends. Bang! I kicked up sand as I surged forward. Le gran impeggio. Elika began her casting. I charged. My target was the spot where the ballista had pierced through. Grrr. The creature lowered its wing. So you caught onto it. It seemed to have sensed my intent to aim for its weak point. With its right wing shielding its injuries, the creature thrashed with its claws and tail. I brought my sword down. Clang! Claws and blade met, and white flames erupted. No immune message appeared. I drew my poison dagger. Then I cut the opposite side of the weak point with the fiery longsword. Scales tore, and black blood spurted. Simultaneously, I struck the other side with the dagger in my left hand. Arrgh! The black dragon thrashed wildly. Wings, teeth, tail, and claws, it swung them all around. Rocks beneath the sand scattered like debris. After stepping back, I observed its rear. Whoosh! Elika's entire body was ablaze. Heat emanated, swirling like a whirlwind. Back away from Elika! The three who had formed a triangle around Elika retreated a few steps. Deal with the shadows. Don't let them get close. Yes. Flash! Elika's eyes flashed blue. The flames around her intensified. The black dragon's gaze shifted toward Elika. It blinked before curling into a ball. It's coming. I hastily sheathed my sword and positioned myself in front of Elika. Dozens of spines shot out from the stretched body of the black dragon. Their target was Elika. Kagang! I swung my sword wildly. If that wasn't enough, I used the dagger. And if that wasn't enough, I'd take the hits with my body. Thigh, shoulder, ribs, paf. The scales pierced my body like paper. Han, 2 stars, is now in a bleeding state. Health decreases periodically. Ugh. My vision swayed. I clenched my teeth. My staggering body regained its composure. Are you okay? Don't worry about me, these damn scales. Blood trickled from the pierced areas. Thorns protruded from the scales, designed to induce bleeding if removal was difficult. Grrr. The black dragon raised its head toward the sky and let out a deafening roar. At the same time, its body turned crimson. Red-black veins became vividly visible throughout its body. Warning, half-black dragon Halkirup has entered a berserk state. The black dragon stared at me and swung its right hand at an incredible speed. Whoosh!
I dodged. The fierce shockwave resonated in my eardrums. The floor, swept by claws, split apart like tofu. As soon as I withdrew, the left-hand claw came crashing down. Bang! Frenzy. Han, 2 stars, has entered a frenzy state. A hot surge rushed through my mind. Bang! The sword and claw clashed. I felt a pressure as if my body would shatter. The ground I stood on caved in. The black dragon's muscles writhed. Its tail swung at an unseen speed. Instinctively, I blocked it. Crack! A sound like a toy breaking echoed, and Velkist's sword shattered. Nerissa, a sword! Got it. Shoo! The rapier slid across the ground, smoothly transferred. I immediately caught it. White flames flickered from the broken blade and transferred to the rapier's blade. Bang! 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 The rapier could not withstand 3 strikes and shattered. I turned around and shouted, "Throw everything you have!" I transferred fire to my left-handed dagger. The dagger broke in 2 strikes. Jenna's dagger flew immediately after. A flurry of attacks followed. Deep footprints were carved into the ground. Elika was behind me. I swung the dagger. The black dragon's right claw flew off. Every bone and muscle in my body creeped. My vision turned red. And then, the hero's soul is awakening in a critical situation. Skill awakening. The black dragon's right claw flew off. Every bone and muscle in my body creaked. My vision turned red. And then, the hero's soul is awakening in a critical situation. Skill awakening. Han, 2 stars, has acquired the invincible skill. Han, 2 stars, has leveled up Frenzy by 2 levels. It's now level 6. Take this too! Velkist's dagger was handed. I transferred the flames and discarded the broken weapon. Wings flapped. I dodged and leapt over the creature's knee. Holding its wings firmly with my left hand, I drew my right-handed dagger down. Zzz. The skin was shredded. It felt like carving into bones. Brrr. One of the black dragon's wings was severed. The fallen right wing on the ground flapped as if it were still alive. This is not bad. I became faster and stronger, and the scales and skin became softer, enough to be cut with a dagger. So it was possible. I chuckled and applied pressure with my hands. The black dragon crawled towards Elika. Its tail lashed out like a whip. I avoided it. The distance between the black dragon and Elika was less than 5 meters. The creature suddenly crouched down. I rushed forward and climbed onto the black dragon's body like a ball. I thrust the flaming dagger into the creature's long neck. Thun! I grabbed the hilt of the dagger with both hands and sliced through the neck. Grrrk! Shut up! The black dragon's posture unraveled in an instant. I used all my strength and plunged the dagger into its neck. The leather and muscles supporting the neck tore apart, and nearly 1 meter around the black dragon's head flew into the sky. Achievement unlocked. Han, 2 stars, has acquired the Dragon Slayer skill.
Black blood spewed like a fountain from the severed neck. The creature thrashed wildly, swinging its tail and claws. Frenzy has been released for Han, 2 stars. Han, 2 stars, has entered a state of extreme fatigue. All attributes have decreased by 90%. Strength was drained from my body. As the blind claws descended to crush my head, Jenna swiftly leaped in and pulled me back. Instantly, the claws struck where I had been. Whoosh! Whoosh! The blood spewing from the black dragon's neck intensified, but the black dragon was still moving. So you won't die until we burst its heart. You filthy bastard, I muttered as Jenna handed me a potion. My entire body was drenched in blood. I couldn't tell if it was mine or the dragon's. Senior, I have a question, Velkist spoke up. I looked around. The shadows were almost cleared. The only thing left was the black dragon, missing its neck and wings, thrashing about. Aloka's chant was nearing an end. What is it? Are you even human? Velkist wore an indifferent expression. This is the first time in my life that I have seen a human stand up to a dragon and tear its throat out. What are you talking about? I collapsed onto the ground. If I hadn't gained invincible at that moment, I wouldn't have been able to move. As I coughed, the blood I had swallowed came pouring out. Luck was on my side. Skill awakening. My frenzy level increased, and I gained invincible, a skill suitable for the situation. My body had no strength left. I had no strength to even move my fingers. I took a deep breath. The area where the scale had pierced throbbed. "Are you okay, Oppa? Do you want me to remove the scales?" "Don't pull them out. It might worsen the bleeding. Just keep your distance from that thing. And take me with you." Jenna dragged me away from the black dragon. Aloka's chant was complete. "Inflare, combine." Tier 4 fire magic. The entire black dragon's body turned white. The flames consuming its body gathered near its heart, forming a circle and undulating. Gradually it grew. A small sun was forming. The sun swallowed the black dragon whole, growing to a certain size, and then vanished. Pop! A white flash spread across the entire field. Stage clear. Han, 2 stars. Jenna, 2 stars. Aloka, 3 stars. Velkist, 2 stars. Narissa, 2 stars. Level up. Edis, 3 stars. Roderick, 3 stars. Aaron, 2 stars. Level up. Rewards: 150,000 gold, 1 lesser dragon heart, 5 C-grade black dragon scales, 2 C-grade black dragon bones. Black dragon. MVP: Han, 2 stars. Congratulations on clearing floor 20, Master. Now, Master, you've graduated from being a novice too. We're all very moved. Please continue to enjoy pick-me-up and have fun. A lower-level dungeon has been unlocked. The second exploration dungeon, Halcea, is now open. Additional facilities have been unlocked. Please check the instructions. There are heroes waiting for promotion among the Master's heroes. If you have the materials, combine them and reclaim the fragments of forgotten memories. The 20th floor field disappeared in succession. The soldiers on the castle walls turned into particles of light and disintegrated. In the midst of this, I looked at the messages that kept appearing. Ding! The dimensional rift is ready to be opened. No one died, none of us! Velkis chuckled at Jenna's words. We were enveloped in light. I got up with Jenna's support. The scales fell off themselves, and the bleeding stopped. My vitality gradually returned. Take care of Aloka. Her recovery is slower. Got it. Jenna walked over to Aloka, who looked dazed. For a moment, the light flashed so brightly that we found ourselves back in the rift of space and time. I sighed lightly. I turned my shoulders, and they moved without any difficulty. All that's left is... I surveyed the circular room. Party 1, 5 people. The second party has 3 members. It was over. 15 went, 8 returned. Narissa's expression darkened. The third party was wiped out. It wasn't complete annihilation, but it was a significant setback for sub-party development. The same went for the second party. Edis looked gloomy. Edis, who had been hesitating, approached me. Han, I'm sorry. We couldn't do our job properly. What are you talking about? Thanks to you, we made it. I patted Edis on the shoulder and whispered, Take care of the party. Don't let it fall apart like this. Edis, along with the other 3 members, left through the rift of space and time. Only 5 members from the first party remained. Aloka, who had collapsed, leaned on Jenna. I stored the recovered shield, sword, and dagger, and said, Great job, everyone. Rest tomorrow. Do whatever you want. I want to fight with you tomorrow, Senior. You should be quiet. We exited to the first floor plaza. Iseli flew over, sprinkling stardust. Something familiar rested against my chest. The warhorse statue was gifted to Han 2 stars. Iseli exhaled. Her white cheeks were tinged with red. Great job on the 20th floor! You are awesome! This is a master gift to our dragon slayer, God Loki. I don't need it. I scratched my cheek. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like the video. Have a suggestion? Let me know in the comments.